As the war continues, private Argentine groups are spearheading efforts to put the best face possible on Argentina's position regarding the Falklands crisis, and much of the emphasis is being placed on influencing opinion outside the country. A patriotic committee has organized a Letters to the World campaign. Argentines are being urged to sign their names to form letters, which will be mailed to private citizens in several countries. The government has ordered Argentina's postal service to help the private effort by providing everything from stamp machines to paper and envelopes. On the first day of the campaign, at tables set up in downtown Buenos Aires, hundreds of Argentines lined up to contribute to the patriotic cause.
With the letters we are sending, we explain the war, the citizens of the war, how or why Argentina is reclaiming the Malvinas Islands.
A different kind of letter was taken by a group of Argentine women of British ancestry to the Swiss embassy today. The letter was addressed to Queen Elizabeth, asking her to help stop the war. The British ancestry of many of the women goes back at least 2 generations, but their loyalties clearly lie with Argentina. David Joy, head of the British Interest section, received the letter. He said he sympathized with the women.
I think the British community is split, actually, very divided. Even families are divided here. This is perhaps one of the saddest aspects of the present crisis.
Flora Hughes expressed the concern of many of the Anglo-Argentines here.
Young boys, both sides, are dying. So if anything one can do, we do our very best. And in this case, it was descendants of British subjects who came out many years ago, most of them, many generations ago, like my own case. And so therefore, we thought we'd write to the Queen.
Charles Gomez, CBS News, Buenos Aires.
Their roots are British. Their home is Argentina. Their message, end the bloodshed on the Malvinas.
And that we should try and find a solution, an amicable solution, by talking it over, stopping fighting at this moment, and save all those very young boys.
The plea for peace was sent to Queen Elizabeth in the form of a letter. Since all contact with Great Britain has been severed, the letter will be sent to London via the Swiss embassy. Everyone who signed the letter was of British descent. They accused Margaret Thatcher of resisting negotiations, having been moved by inexplicable fanaticism and displaying a haughtiness that will end in dishonor for the United Kingdom. All for a group of remote islands unknown to the British.
English can't stay there, and therefore to live there, what do they want it for? Keep her government, perhaps.
We cannot believe what is happening.
These Anglo-Argentines fully recognized Argentina's responsibility in ending the fighting. Still, they appealed to Her Majesty to take the peace initiative in the Malvinas. James Allen Miklaszewski, CNN, Buenos Aires. As the British and Argentines stand off at Puerto Argentino or Port Stanley, frantic attempts are being made to find a diplomatic solution to the conflict, not only to save lives, but to save any hope of future foreign relations between the two nations.
And if we get a peaceful outcome, it is if you avoid a bloodbath, then the process will be still more rapid. Because if we have a bloodbath, anything becomes in some way unforeseeable.
Former Foreign Minister Oscar Camilión, one of Argentina's most prominent politicians, is convinced a bitter finale at Puerto Argentino would result in a permanent infection between the two countries that would fester for years. He already looks forward to rebuilding relations not only with Great Britain, but the United States, who gave military support to the British. Camilión denied that Foreign Minister Costa Mendes' meeting with Fidel Castro in Havana Thursday held any special significance, other than Argentina's desire to cultivate support from the Conference of Non-Aligned Nations.
When you are alone in such a big crisis, we need to look for the support of other countries.
He did say that Argentina and the Soviet Union will emerge from the conflict with improved political and trade relations. Camilión is optimistic about the future of Argentina after the shooting and looks forward to the possibility of free general elections denied the country by 3 successive juntas. A precarious path he calls Argentina's walk toward democracy. No matter what the outcome on the Malvinas, Camilión is not certain the price is worth it.
We lost, frankly, too many lives.
James Allen Miklashevsky, CNN, Buenos Aires.
Political parties are meeting this week in Buenos Aires.
Well, we are here to present a letter to the Queen.
British descendants of Argentina, and this lady is in charge of doing so.
Sí.
¿Vos hablarle?
Venimos a ver si podemos mandarle una carta a la reina, pero realmente queremos que llegue a la reina.
Sí, bueno, yo me encargo de transmitírselo entonces.
Bueno, pero podemos dejar la carta y nos enviarán la carta.
Sí, ¿cómo no?
Bueno, entonces podemos conversar.
Lástima que hayan llegado hoy porque hoy es el día que sale la valija, habrá salido. Sé que va a tardar por lo menos una semana antes que salga la próxima. Más rápido llegaría por telex o por telegrama o algo así. Pero desde luego se lo acepto y se lo transmitiré la semana que viene. ¿Tienen ustedes copias de esto?
She doesn't speak English. For as best as possible.
Sí, sé muy poco, no me voy a poder.
No, pues yo le...
Menos a la prensa. Tengo que dejar firmado en mi documento, me hago responsable yo de esto.
No, está bien. ¿Usted tiene su nombre en la carta o no?
La carta firmamos todos.
Perfecto.
No está
¿Usted la primera?
Dolly Georgina Pixton.
Ok, muy bien. Está bien.
Confiamos en que llegue a la reina.
Claro que sí, que se lo compre.
La queremos mucho también a ella.
¿Lo quieren ver? Sí. Bueno, señora,
mucho gusto.
Sí, se lo he entendido. Sí, gracias.
What will you do with the petition now?
I shall send it on in the earliest possible diplomatic bag to London.
Do you have any idea at all how representative it is of the British community here and of the Anglo-Argentine community?
No, I haven't even read it yet, so I'm not very sure about that. But I have the impression I would have expected it to come through one of the established institutions here. There is a British Community Council and there are various British hospitals, things like that. And I would have expected it to have come through them. I know they've been in touch sending telegrams to the Prime Minister before.
So do you think that this is unrepresentative in some way, Mr. General?
I don't say that, really. It may well be. I don't know who the people are. I did have a message earlier today that it was not backed by the British Community Council, but I didn't say no more than that.
What do you think the reaction is going to be in Britain?
It's very difficult for me to say. It seems to me a little wrong to bring the Queen into a matter like this, but this is a matter to be considered in London.
What about your general dealings with the British community in the past few days as they wait for the attack on Port Stanley? Are they very worried?
I think naturally they're worried, yes, but I haven't had any... I think the British community is split, actually, very divided. Even families are divided here. This is perhaps one of the saddest aspects of the present crisis. I've been present at meetings where family is divided against family, and as the Argentine or Anglo-Argentines say, nobody speaks to grandfather because he's British anyway and he's got a different view. So it's divided the families, and it's a very serious sociological problem as well, I think. Yeah. Right.
Thank you.
Comes out all right. Good. Good, thank you then. You're absolutely this one. David Joy, J-O-Y. And the British head of the British interest section for the Swiss embassy. A bit long.
You said something long ago. You said something to the fact that you've been with families that were divided, and can you kind of just repeat that for me?
Yes, Yes, I find that the crisis has tended to divide the British community, the Anglo-Argentine community, within itself, and individuals have taken different points of view, either supporting the British side or supporting the Argentine side. And this has occurred within families on occasion, so it makes life rather difficult for some people.
Have you any idea, Mr. Joy, what proportion of Argentine British passport holders have in fact returned their passports since the outbreak of the war?
We haven't had any passports returned here. Is that you're thinking of returning them here? No, we haven't had any. We had one threat to renounce citizenship, but it never eventuated. That's all I know of.
Do you think that these people believe, as you talk to this community, that relations between Argentina and Britain can ever be the same as they thought they were before the conflict?
I've heard it said that things will never be the same after the 2nd of April, yes.
Do you believe that yourself?
It's very difficult to find how it can go back to the status quo ante, yes.
Thank you. Very good of you. Thank you very much, Mr. Joy. Seeing you.
This is the main street of the capital of the Falklands. British planes are overhead. From a distance, the action can be heard. The officer with a riding crop in one hand, saluting with the other, is the commander of the Argentine forces there, General Benjamin Menendez. Some of his men appear to be very young. These troops pass by shouting, "Argentina, long live our fatherland." We are told the principal Argentine defensive positions are about 6 miles from the residential area, out near the airport. The airport is in the vicinity of those bomb blasts. In these pictures, the attacking British planes can barely be seen overhead. The pictures from the Falklands, obtained exclusively by CBS News, were reportedly taken this week. An Argentine soldier wounded in the Falklands was interviewed in a mainland hospital. He offered no details of the fighting, but claimed he would be willing to go back to fight again. 17 Americans still live on the island, some in the capital. They are permitted to call the U.S. Embassy in Buenos Aires. CBS News has learned that the last call was Wednesday. The message was they had enough supplies and had not been harmed. Morton Dean, CBS News, Buenos Aires.
The Argentinian government tonight broke a day-long silence on the situation at Port Stanley. A communique claimed that a British attack was repelled at Port Stanley, that ground action continued around mountains to the west, and that British air attacks had diminished. There was no indication that today's action signaled the expected British push on Port Stanley. Okay, now I want to do one that's shorter. This is take 6.
Very good. We're on the bird. Hang on a second, Gavin. I gotta talk to this fucking... Are we on the bird? Yeah, on the bird. Thank you. Please let us know. Gavin? Gavin?
Okay, here's a quick mic test for Atlanta. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is the level at which we'll be broadcasting. This is a audio test and audio test for CNN Atlanta.
I may give you a rap for the cue because they want to end this soon, so I'll go like this.
Well, first, let me handle some of the news that has been happening here. Some important developments. A spokesman, an official spokesman for the government tonight is saying that reports that Soviet technicians are installing a sophisticated radar base at Comodoro Rivadavia, one of the major focal points of the support and the attack effort against the British fleet and British troops on the Malvinas or Falkland Islands. He says those charges are, in his words, sheer fantasy. He says that those bases are used to stage raids. There have been a lot of speculation lately talking about the possibility that Great Britain will launch attacks against those bases because, as you know, Argentina has said that it is going to go ahead and continue air attacks against Great Britain and their forces on the Falkland or Malvinas Islands as long as they remain there. In other developments, there was no real reporting, no real fighting as you reported going on the islands today, but in a recent communique, number 126, issued just about 40 minutes ago, they said that land fighting sporadically did continue in and around Port Stanley. They said isolated patrol actions and artillery fire took place over Mount Kent, Mount Challenger, and Two Sisters Island, Mountains.